Good afternoon. My name is Roberson, and the title of my PowerPoint presentation is called A Biopsychosocial Review of Obesity. First slide. What is obesity? First of all, when talking about obesity, it's a chronic health condition that's characterized by excessive accumulation of body fat. Really, obesity is something that is determined by not just being something simple as being overweight. It can be influenced by several different factors, which the biopsychosocial comes into effect. It can be biological factors, psychological factors, and even social factors. It's a condition that, if left untreated, can lead to things such as cancer, diabetes, and even heart disease. Obesity is far more in depth than just stating someone is overweight due to this being unhealthy. It's a lot of different factors that contribute to why someone is obese instead of just being a simple concept. And a lot of hidden factors that people do not consider can contribute to why millions of people around the world deal with this. The condition can lead to chronic disease, decreased quality of life, and even more added healthcare costs. It's a very negative thing to have. And understanding it through the biopsychosocial framework can lead to effective prevention that can help individuals differently instead of just using one model framework that can work for everybody. And that's not the best way to effectively treat something for everybody. Not everybody responds the same way to this treatment. And obesity has become one of the most deadliest and common health challenges in the world today. The biopsychosocial model proposes that health and illness are influenced by the interaction of biological factors, psychological factors, and social factors. And it's best understanding of how all these factors combine and mesh than just focus on those one single cause, because it's much more complex than that. And social factors include things like social and economic status, social support, and environmental conditions. If somebody is poor and lives in a poor neighborhood and all they can afford is high calorie food, that's all they're going to eat because that's all they can afford. If they can't afford healthy food options and they grew up and that's all that they were exposed to was unhealthy options, that's all they're going to eat because that's just what they know. And when you talk about applying the biopsychosocial model to obesity, when breaking down the model, you look at the first thing is biological, which could be genetic disposition. If you're genetically just disposed to being obese because your parents were obese, your grandparents were obese, your great grandparents were obese, it's a good chance that you're going to fall into that category as well. And psychological, if you've been having like a really bad day and at work or at school, and the only thing you think of is just you want to eat your sorrows away and just eat something that'll make you feel good. And then the first thing you can think of is I want to go to McDonald's, I want to go to Burger King. Then that's what you're going to do because it makes you feel good in the moment. It's not good for you later, but in the moment it makes you feel good. You get that instant gratification. And social, and then it's just that food availability and access. If you have a social circle that's all they eat and they're just exposed to unhealthy options all the time and that's all you see, then that's what you're going to indulge in. Family history has a huge reason why people are obese. If your parents were both obese and your grandparents were obese and further down the line, it's a good chance that you're going to be obese as well. If doing family dinners, if all that was on the dinner table was high calorie foods and then that's what you know and that's what you're exposed to, it's a good chance that's just all you're going to eat as you get older. And the cycle is going to continue. If you have kids, you're probably going to expose them to the same exact thing. Hormones and metabolism. Now, metabolism regulates how the body uses and stores energy, which is very, very important. If your hormone imbalance are out of whack, then it's going to have a hard time regulating and it's going to contribute to higher weight gain. Now, two key hormones, which are ghrelin and leptin, if they are completely out of whack, in which these both regulate hunger and that feeling of being full, then you can wake up late at night or early in the morning and just be completely starving and just want the first thing that you can see that's in your kitchen. And the first thing that you see in your kitchen is ice cream or some kind of fried food that you have in your fridge, you're gonna want to eat that because you're not full. And then once you eat it, then you're full. But then that can contribute, especially if that can happens continuously, day after day. That's gonna add up to added weight because you're not shouldn't be eating those kind of things late at night. And it's a complex thing. Obesity is not something simple. It's a complex disease, and it's influenced by many different psychological factors. And it's just not just as simple as just overeating and getting a lack of exercise. That can contribute to that, but it's just more simple. It's not as simple as that. Medical consequences of obesity. Now, medical consequences of obesity are it can lead to increased risk of type 2 diabetes, and it can reduce your quality of life, which make it can make everyday life that much more hard and stressful, where you struggle to get up in the morning, you have less drive, less energy, and it can just cause a lot of issues. And it can contribute to hypertension and heart disease, and it's something that requires careful management. You have to manage it every day. You have to be mindful of what you eat, mindful of your physical activity, and make sure that you're taking and doing what you need to do to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because if not, it's going to lead to a lot of health consequences and lead to higher health costs for yourself. Stress and obesity. Now, stress and obesity go hand in hand. If you are increasingly stressed and very stressed out, you're gonna want to eat your stress away, and you'll want to grab the first thing that you can find and emotional eat, and then you can use that as your means of escape from getting away from whatever happened throughout the day. And then continuously doing this and then binging and partaking in this behavior, it's gonna lead to poor health in the long term, which eventually would catch up to you and lead to chronic health conditions. And once again, back to stress, it can contribute to this playing a role in using food as an escape tool from your daily stressors. Emotional eating and depression. Negative emotions can lead to poor food choices and eating behaviors. And depression and anxiety, which go hand in hand, can contribute to overeating. If you're depressed and you just feel as though the only thing that you can do to make you feel better is just, I'm just gonna grab something downstairs. The first thing that I can find can be a very unhealthy snack and go back upstairs and just crawl back into bed. And you do that every day. That weight's gonna start to add on. And then a big thing that's important is having culturally informed interventions. So basically having interventions that fit to that specific culture that speaks to them and that they fully understand, and it helps them be like, okay, this is what's going on, this is what I need to do to fix this, and then having resources available to help them combat it and overcome it, which is very important, which is something that needs to be more available, especially in low economic neighborhoods. Self-efficacy and health behaviors. Now, self-efficacy is just having that freedom to do what you want. Now, if somebody can have a goal setting in their mind, a setting of a goal to be like, okay, I want to lose weight, I want to feel better, I want to have a better quality of life. Now, if they have that in mind and have support behind them, positive support, it can lead to behavior change. Now, another important thing is self-monitoring, having them monitor what they eat, monitoring what they're consuming, and being honest with themselves, so where if they do fall off the wagon and do mess up, they can be like, okay, this is where I messed up. Let me follow the steps to let me get the help that I need so that I can continue and not keep making these same mistakes over and over. And higher self-efficacy is associated with healthier eating and increased physical activity, which is very true. If people have the freedom to do what they want and have that sense of, okay, I'm making my own decisions and making positive and good decisions, it's going to lead them to be like, okay, let me keep eating healthier and let me continue my physical activity, working out, doing yoga, things like that, so I can live a better quality of life. Family influences on obesity. Now, parents have a huge influence on their children and what they eat and also their rate of physical activity. If you have parents that are not physically active and just eat whatever they want and don't eat healthier options, children see this and they're going to be like, well, if my parents do this, then I guess that's okay for me to do it as well. And another thing, family meals and availability of specific foods affect dietary habits. If families are not eating fruits and vegetables and they don't make it as something that's important, to live a healthy life and, to get their daily nutrients, kids are not going to see it as something that's important for them too. And then once they get older and have kids, they're going to pass on the same thing to their kids because that's what they grew up and that's what they know. And in their mind, they think that's correct. So, like the example I have, if a child learns pizza every day is good, then once you're an adult, this may stick with you, and that's very well true. It may stick because in your mind you think that's correct. Socioeconomic and environmental influences. Now, income or lack thereof can have a strong influence on obesity. If you don't have access to a lot of money or money to access healthier food options, and the only thing you can afford is McDonald's or fast food, then that's what you're going to eat because that's all you have access to. And if you're in poverty, this is going to increase, barriers to healthier food options. You just don't have options to them because in today's world, healthier food options are more expensive. They're good for you, but they're very expensive. If you don't have access to that and the money for that, or resources or access to resources to help you get those options, then the only thing you're gonna have access to is unhealthier options. And another thing that Baydun and other researchers found that individuals who spend more money on food typically eat healthier food options, which is very true. Those who spend a lot of money on food typically will spend the money necessary to buy healthier food options, more fruits, more vegetables, things of that nature. Weight stigma and social support. Now, individuals who do have obesity and deal with it experience weight-based stigma. And this can lead to emotional distress and increased stress. Basically, just feeling down on yourself, feeling as though you're not worthy, you don't look good, and just having you feeling depressed and just sad about pretty much every aspect of your life due to your weight. And this has a trickle down effect that this has a negative influence on everything: your social life, your work life, everything. And negative social experiences can influence treatment outcomes. If you have a negative social life, that can lead to bad treatment outcomes. Where if you don't have positive social support, you may feel as though, well, okay, why do I need to lose weight? If they're not, my friends and family are saying that I shouldn't have to lose weight, that the size that I am may be sufficient, even though in the long run it's not. You may feel as though, okay, well, why am I even doing this? So that can cause problems as well. Assessing obesity and BMI, body mass index. Now, body mass index is the most used tool to measure obesity. Basically, it deals with height and weight. It's a very easy tool to use. A lot of healthcare workers most use it in today's world. Now, it's a tool used as a designation of size to categorize from underweight, normal weight, overweight, and obese. Now, it should be used with other health indicators as well, whenever possible, including, based on what that person eats, genetic factors, and things of that nature to determine if a person is actually healthy or not, instead of just using the simple tool of BMI. Strength and limitations of BMI. Strengths. Very easy and useful to use for identify obesity risk. And it's widely used in healthcare and research. Now, limitations. It does not directly measure body fat. Now, with BMI, let's take, for example, an athlete. Let's say, for instance, someone like Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal was a basketball player who played for a long time in the NBA. With his size, a lot of people just off the eye test and off BMI with his height and weight may consider him obese. Even though for his size, he is not. He's an athlete. He's in peak condition for his size as a bigger guy. So it is not really 100% accurate when it comes to measuring body fat. And it should be used with additional assessments as well. Lifestyle and behavior interventions. Now, long-term lifestyle changes are more effective than short-term diets, which is very, very true. Now, you can follow a short-term diet, like a keto diet, something like that, and lose weight quickly. But if you're not sustaining and you're not making that diet long term and making that into a total lifestyle change, that weight can easily come back very quickly, and you can maybe even gain more weight than you lost. Now, regular physical activity is very helpful. Things like walking, running, going to the gym, yoga, things like that. Anything that gets your heart rate up and gets you moving can help improve health outcomes. Now, self-efficacy, back to that, which is the freedom to doing it and making your own decisions, is a huge component. And someone having that freedom can lead to them making healthier food choices and increase their physical activity. If they feel as though they have the choice to do so, and they in their mind they are making that decision, like I want to lose weight, I want to be more healthy, they're gonna follow and do what they need to do in order to make that happen. And another thing, self-monitoring, very, very useful. If you self-monitor your progress, and it makes them aware of what's going on. If they're holding themselves accountable and being honest with themselves, it can lead to healthier lifestyle. Cognitive behavior approaches. A key thing, big thing with this is developing realistic weight management goals. Now, being realistic, so having a realistic goal in mind and saying, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds in a month. That's not really realistic. Now, you can lose 20 pounds over a span over a couple of months, but in 1 month, that's not realistic. If you have a realistic number in mind and are following the steps, working out, eating healthy, and holding yourself accountable, then the weight will start to come off and you will feel those changes. And identifying unhealthy thoughts and behaviors. So getting those negative thoughts out of your head that I can't do this, why am I doing this is stupid. Get those negative thoughts out of your head and have nothing but positive mindset of saying, okay, I'm doing this because this is why I want to do this. I want to live healthier. I want to avoid health diseases. I want to avoid hypertension. I want to avoid heart disease. I want to avoid all those things. And then that will lead to, positive behaviors. And improving problem solving skills. If something does happen and you do fall off and you do eat something unhealthy, or you do something that's not on your goal as far as on the road to losing weight, then just having those interventions and being involved in those programs to help you, okay, have when these situations do happen, okay, how do I overcome this? What can I do? Okay, if this happened, if X happened, okay, Y says I should do this. And then having those on hand so you can overcome that and continue forward. Medical and surgery treatments. Now, anti-obesity medications may be a possible solution for obese patients. Stuff like Wegovy and things like that. That stuff can work, and a lot of people in today's world do use that for to treat their to lose weight. Another thing could be bariatric surgery. If someone is very, very obese and overweight, they can use that to help them lose weight. And the big thing is that treatment plans need to be individualized for each patient. Not every patient is going to react the same way to treatment. You need specific treatment for you that deals with you, your personality type, and that most effective. If that's in place, then you can get the most effective treatment as possible and it can have the most effect on you, the most positive effects. An important component is the need for long-term follow-up to monitor progress. That's very important. If you have proper follow-up with health physicians and support team that, okay, let's follow up on what's going on. Okay, you're doing this. This is good. Okay, you could do this a little better. That stuff's very important. If you have that in your corner and to help support you, then it can only help you even further increase and have better results. Conclusion and future directions. Obesity is a very complex and chronic health condition. It is. It's something that millions of people around the world deal with every single day. It causes millions of deaths around the world due to people being overweight and unhealthy. But a big thing that a lot of people don't realize, and as I've stated throughout the PowerPoint, is that biological, psychological, and social factors all play a role within obesity risk. They play a huge role. And early intervention and getting help early and realizing, okay, this is a problem because it's affecting every single aspect of my life. That's the first step to help combat it and prevent chronic diseases and just have and avoid those negative health complications later on in your life. Now, future research should definitely continue to focus on individualized personal interventions, which is very, very important and very key because, once again, not everybody reacts to the same treatment. You can't use one treatment method and expect it to work for 20 different people. They come from many walks of life, they grew up differently, and they've gone through different backgrounds. It's not going to work the same for everybody. If you have treatments that speak directly to them, that deal with them personally, they're going to feel more engaged. They're going to feel more, okay, this is something that I can really do. And they can fully engage into it and get the most positive effect out of it possible. Here are my first page of my references. And here's the second page of my references. And that will conclude my PowerPoint presentation for a biopsychosocial review of obesity. I thank you for listening to my PowerPoint, and I hope you have a blessed and wonderful day. Thank you.